Hey, I'm so glad to see everybody. So, who's going to be here next week? I can't trick you guys. I just can't. Everybody's too smart in this room. All the smart people come from work all day and their brains are still working. Sometimes when I get here, I think, oh, is it still working in there? I just don't know after the day. So listen, next week is spring break across our campus. So don't come next week, but you gotta come the following week because we're gonna have worship and we have something really, really fun we're gonna do. And then of course the last week is always my favorite. We're gonna have food for you on us. So we're going to provide all kinds of fun things. So we have a couple great weeks coming up, but don't come next week because it'll be really sad here, and you'll feel poorly if you come. We do have, I'm just talking, we do have 2 new baby goats. They like to hang back in the barn in the corners, so they're still just figuring out outdoor space. But if you get a little minute sometime over the break, go and visit these baby goats. They are so sweet. And I've tried one time when we had a whole pack of baby goats, I did goat yoga over in the student building. No, it's fun. And they don't pee and poop on you. I thought they would, but they just jump up and then they stand there and it's so weird. And then you kind of lift them like this and like this and like this. And they're sweet. They do make a little bit of a sad noise from time to time. But anyway, if I get them to a point where we can do goat yoga again, we'll invite you and you can see if you want. Has anyone done it? Oh, see, it was fun, right? Yeah, goat yoga is amazing. So those are just a couple quick announcements as we begin. Grab your notes. Because in the next beatitude, Jesus tells us that the good life, or the blessed life, so to speak, belongs to who? Belongs to the pure in heart. It's in Matthew 5:8. It says, blessed are the, underline it, pure in heart, for what will happen? They will see God. Now, really, we can read that, blessed are the pure in heart, and they will see God, but like we should say, because they'll see God. Like, that's a pretty big deal. Part of me thinks, do I want to see God? Because sometimes I think in the Old Testament it didn't go well for people. It's overwhelming. I've thought about when I see God, like, do you ever think about these things? Like, when you see God, what will you do? You know, what the song You Can Only Imagine, I Can Only Imagine, but like, what will you do? For me, it's like I'm just going to be down, like flat on my face down. Like I just can't even imagine what that would be. But this verse says that we can actually see God here on earth. So are you curious? Yeah, it's going to be great. All right. So the thing is, it all starts with our hearts. It starts with the heart. The heart in the Bible was seen, and this is really important, it was seen as the centermost part of your body. It's the seat of your mind and your soul and your spirit. It holds so many things. It holds your appetites, your affections, your will, your thoughts, your passions, your spiritual desires. It was literally called, if you look at some of the translations, the bowels of the person. Like the bowels. This is why when we're broken-hearted, you could underline this, we feel it so deeply, right? We feel it in our bowels. I know a couple times over 23, 24, I was so brokenhearted, and it was like I wanted to just do this, right? Have you felt that way? Maybe recently. And the funny thing is the words out of my mouth in that season both times were, oh my heart. It's just, you feel it in the bowels of your person. So clearly the heart is very complex. That's why it says in Proverbs 4:23, which you know is one of my favorites, it says, above all else, what's that mean? Before you do anything, above all the things, do what? Guard, circle the word, guard, stand guard over what? Your heart, because everything you do comes out of there. Everything you do flows from it. That's an interesting word, too, in the Hebrew, flows. It's all just flowing out like a whole bunch of streams coming out. Since everything in life flows from it, then it makes sense, doesn't it, that we would want our hearts to be pure, because the word pure, and I know I'm going to be really, pardon the pun, wordy tonight, but the words are so good, y'all. The word pure carries the idea of not being mixed, right, or adulterated with any other substance or material. It means being free of any kind of contamination. It's Toxin, we'll put it this way. Write this down. Toxin free. Toxin free. So this is why Jesus said in Matthew and also in the book of Luke, it's recorded in both places. We'll read Luke 6:45. He said this, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. That makes sense. An evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For, underline it, the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Right? The mouth spills on the heart. The mouth spills on the heart. The mouth tells what's in the heart. And it's so true. You know, there have been times when I've been so shocked by something I've said, and then I've gone back, and although I know it was a problem, whatever words came out, but it was a symptom, really, of a heart problem that I needed to deal with. So what I said was one thing, not a good thing, but the real problem was the thing, underline it, the thing behind the thing. And that was my heart, whatever was going on in there. Now, Jesus also expresses his desire for us to have an, underline it, undivided heart. So later in Matthew, he reminds us of the great commandment, which we see in the Old Testament. It's Matthew 22:37. It says, and you've probably heard this before, you shall love the Lord your God with how much? All your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, your bowels, right? That part. So God doesn't want part of our hearts or a piece of our heart. You know, he wants our whole heart, underline it again, our undivided heart. Now, later in the Bible, this is described, a divided heart is described as being double-minded and then in need of purification. So in James 4:8, it says this, come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. That's all of us. And, underline it, purify your what? Hearts, you, double-minded. So the word, here I'm back with my words, but the word double-minded in the original language, it's this really interesting word. It's dis-suke, or two-souled, or a divided or split soul. If you remember, one of, I would say, the leaders of the church in the New Testament, Paul, he would say, doggone it, you know, like, why do I do the things that I don't want to do and don't do the things that I want to do? It's when we have a divided heart that happens, or a split soul. Again, God's calling us to a singleness of heart toward him. Now, again, the promise of this beatitude is when our hearts are pure, that we will be able to, underline it, see God. So to see him is to experience him personally, to be in his presence, to see and experience his heart, not only for us, but for the entire world. It allows us to see him at work in us and in the world around us. So it's like, here's what I like to call it. I like to call it like a little peek into heaven, like a little, open the window, I saw a little bit of heaven there. And when that happens, you don't get over it. Like, you know what you know what you know. Like, you've had just a little window into what heaven's going to be like. So how do we do it? How do we keep our hearts pure to be able to do that? Well, first of all, this is really what confession is all about. You know, David's prayers have been ones I have prayed, I can't even imagine how many times, over and over again throughout the years. One of my favorites is in Psalm 139, verses 23 and 24. And this is a prayer that you could pray every single day, at least I could. Search me, God, and know my heart. By the way, that word heart in the Bible in the Greek is the word cardia, K-A-R-D-I-A, if you want to write that down. Search me, God, and know my heart. Put me to the test and know my anxious thoughts, where I'm divided, where I'm not trusting you, but I want to trust you, but I'm not trusting you. See if there's anything hurtful in there, any hurtful way in me, and then lead me forward to do something different here. And lead me in the everlasting way. Another prayer is in Psalm 51:10. It says, create in me a pure, underline the word, pure heart, God. Renew a steadfast spirit within me. Psalm 26:2. This word test has now come up twice. Test me, Lord, and try me. Examine my heart and my mind, my bowels. See what's going on in there. Now, the other thing we can do to protect our hearts is honestly, you guys, to study his word, to look into his word, to consume it like it's food. Psalm 119:11 says, I've hidden your word. I love that picture. Ooh, I hid it down in there. I hid it down in there. I hid your word in my heart. Why? So I wouldn't sin against you. Or I wouldn't have a divided heart. And here's the thing about the Bible. The Bible, it's kind of like a plumb line. It brings our hearts and our minds center. It takes us back to the real thing. You know, it grounds us in truth and in an eternal perspective, which is usually lost when our hearts are disuke. So, the roads to staying pure in heart, they're not about performance. That's not how it works. It's not about being perfect. We'll never get there. And the roots, they're just going to be messy. They're going to be messy. They're going to be raw. They're going to be authentic. And they're going to be totally human. In fact, I would say when we're inauthentic or we're disingenuous or we lack integrity, it actually creates a barrier between us and God. Because he's 100% the opposite of those things. So what we need to remember is, you know, he's never surprised by our humanity. Never. He's fully aware of our humanity, and he's never about the externals. In 1 Samuel 16:7, it says, God doesn't see as man sees. No. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord, he looks at the cardia, at the heart, deep in there. So pure in heart looks like being authentic with him as well. But here's the most amazing byproduct of all of it. I couldn't wait. I was so excited to share this with you. Every time I would prepare for this, I'd say to my own self, I can't wait to share this with them. So here we go. 2 Corinthians 3:16-18. It says, whenever someone turns to the Lord, whenever, and that's written like whenever, every single time, the veil is taken away. For the Lord is the Spirit. Stay with me here. And wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there's, underline it. What is it? So here's the thing. When our hearts turn to him, our hearts turn to him, this veil that's there, that's between us, is lifted and we're able to see him clearly. And rather than shame or guilt, we now have the freedom to be able to see his hand and experience him more fully. So I just had a myriad of stories to tell you about times when I feel like I've gotten a little peek into heaven, a little window into heaven where I've gone, whoa, like I didn't get over it. I would stand back, step back. That was a little picture of heaven going on there. But I thought I'd share a fun one. Some of them I've shared with you before. A lot of them just look like flat out miracles. So this isn't a miracle one. This is one on me. Anyway. So do any of you have boys? Does anyone have boys? Or even brothers? There's something about that. Yeah, the mom-son thing. There's something about the sister to the brother thing. It looks like being really protective of who they're with. Are you with me? Especially if they're female. So my son Trent, he loved girls. He's married now. He does love his wife, and he has a baby girl. He's a great dad. But anyway, he really loved girls. And I remember when he first started in high school, when he was bringing home more serious relationships, middle school, like but in high school, he'd bring girls home. And I had a little bit of an attitude problem with these girls, like it's funny, not funny, because kind of judgmental. Like in my bowels, I was super critical of them. And it was that, I don't know if this woman is ever going to be good enough for my son kind of thing. But here's the thing about Trent is I think he's still friends with every girl he's ever dated. Like, yeah, he was really good at breakup. Really, really good at breakup. But about halfway through this dating situation where he would bring these girls home, I realized that I really had there was a thing beneath the thing. and that I had an attitude problem, and that God was actually giving me an opportunity to love these young women well. And so my prayer in going forward out of this was to confess this bad judgmental attitude I had to this myriad of women coming through my home, and to instead, I asked God to endear them to me. Every single last one of them. I prayed that he would give me an opportunity to speak life into them and to love them well. Now, here's the bad part about that. And God answered my prayer, that this is the bad part about it. Trent would break up with these girls, and they're all endeared to me. And then I was like bitter at him. So now I was judging him for making, and I can tell you, I'm still friends with those girls too, but I would grieve when he would break up with her. I was like, why in the world did you break up with her? I love her. Anyway, that's my story about that. But here's the point in terms of heaven. What that did for me is it gave me this little window into heaven because of God's pursuit of these girls. And it would have been a flat out missed opportunity for me to stay in that wretched, judgmental state and not take full advantage of loving those girls well. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it, all right? So blessed are the pure in heart, because what? They will see God. What an amazing thing to be able to see God this side of heaven. We're going to get to do that forever one day. So let me pray for us, and then you have a lot of fun things to talk about. God, thank you for how you redeem our broken hearts and all the stuff that's in there. Thank you that you care about all the stuff that's in there. Thank you for giving this window of seeing you work in our own lives, and how when you work in our lives, how we're able to share that and pass that on, and then you're able to work in other people's lives as well, and their broken hearts. And I know there are people here today who have broken hearts. And so I'm going to pray healing over those broken hearts today. Just nothing hurts worse than a broken heart. And I thank you that you're the great healer. In Jesus' name, amen. All righty, y'all have fun with this.